Hello everybody, it's Rod with the PhotoFair coming at you with another video. Just a reminder, the next PhotoFair is February 23rd at the Newark Pavilion in Newark, California. That's in the Bay Area. We'd love to see you come to the next show. It's going to be a lot of fun. Today I want to talk about shift adapters. These are very clever devices, and there are companies all over that are making them, some in China, some in Germany, all over the place. You can even get tilt and shift adapters as well. Today I want to focus on the shift adapter, which I have one from Kipon right here. Very well made unit. They sell for about 150, 160 bucks. This will only do shift, so it's a perspective control device, and I'm going to talk about how clever this is and how you can use it in a variety of situations. And there are tilt and shift units that allow you to do the tilting action that allows you to sort of shift the focus plane a little bit, and it allows you to exaggerate depth of field. Those are a little more complicated. If you don't have experience using a view camera, they can be a little confusing. Today I'm just going to focus on the shift, which is a real simple concept, and it's brilliant with these modern mirrorless cameras and this massive amount of high quality old school full frame 35mm lenses that are out there. You can turn them all into a shift lens. First, if you're not familiar with the whole tilt and shift idea, Canon has a whole line of these lenses. They're very expensive to buy. They've got a 17 tilt and shift, a 24, a 45, a 90, and I believe they just came out with like a 135, and a couple of those are actually macro focusing lenses. We'll talk a little bit about how using a shift feature in a macro shot can be real effective. So what does the shift do? First of all, you have to use, when you're using a shift adapter, you've got to be using a lens that is designed for a larger format camera than the camera you're on. So this is a Canon M5. The M5 is using Canon's 1.6 crop factor APS-C sensor, and that's great. This is a Tamron 17mm lens designed for 35mm full frame. So the image circle for this is designed to cover a much larger sensor. So there's room to move the sensor around behind the lens, and that's what the shift does. So there's this cool little control up here, and you push this button and you can slide this left or right. Now if you're doing it on a vertical axis, you can simply spin the whole deal around like this, and there's 90-degree detents, and now you're raising it up or down. Okay, so it's kind of like having the movements on a view camera right here on your little APS-C crop sensor camera. Now you could use this on a Sony crop camera like the A6000 series, but you could also use it because it shares the same mount with the full frame A7. You could use it on that camera, but you would have to put the A7 series camera in crop mode. So you'd be giving up some of your pixels in order to do that. About half of them actually, a little less than half. Okay, so what we do here, a couple of reasons why you might do this. One of the most common uses for perspective control lenses over the years has been to shoot architecture. So for example, you're trying to shoot, say, a building. So here's a shot, I'll put a little window there, of a building taken with a wide angle lens. And we have to kind of look up at the building to get the whole building in the photo because it's kind of tall. And so now the building has that leaning back look. Now, artistically speaking, that can sometimes be a good effect, but if we're really trying to present this building the way it appears when we look at it, that's not how it looks. We don't get that kind of parallax when we're looking up at the building. Okay, certainly not as bad as it shows up in a camera. So what we can then do is we can kind of aim the camera so that it's perpendicular and parallel. So all the lines are either perpendicular or parallel. But here's the problem: now the building doesn't fit. Okay, so all the lines are straight and it sort of looks proper, but we can't really see the whole building. And that's not, we don't want this chopped off building, right? Here we enter the perspective control. And in this thing, we've moved the lens. So what we've done, by shifting the lens is seeing a lot more than the sensor is seeing. And so what we're doing is we're simply shifting that sensor up towards the top of the image circle. So now it's seeing the top of the building that the sensor would not have seen if I weren't able to move the sensor. And that's really what you're doing. Even though the adapter moves the lens, effectively you're moving the sensor. You're sliding the sensor not the lens. Okay, you're just moving the sensor around. I've got this little diagram here, kind of shows how it works with the image circle versus the sensor. That's what most people think of when they think of perspective control. But there's other uses of perspective control. And these little adapters are great. 150 bucks, I can turn any lens, a telephoto lens, any lens, into a perspective control. And it doesn't just have to be wide angle. But another use of a wide angle lens, where I use this Tamron 17. Now this one's got a Canon FD adapter, because I bought this Kipon unit quite a while ago when I had a bunch of FD lenses lying around. That was primarily why I bought it. But you can get them for Nikon, Pentax, lots of different mounts. Okay, so I've got the 17 on there. Another use for it is interior architecture. Now, I'm a realtor by trade, and so I take a lot of interior pictures of homes. Sometimes you want to get a nice straight shot of a room. You don't want that corner shot because it makes the lines all bendy and weird, but you're trying to get the whole room in. You're like, God, I really wish I could just stand right in the middle of the room. But maybe there's a big couch there, or maybe there's a wall there. And God, if I could only be inside the wall, that would be really cool. And it's just not practical to do that. So what do? You use a shift lens or a shift adapter like this. What I've done is, instead of taking the angle shot, I've now just moved the camera to a spot in an opening in the room, the entrance, which is off center, and I want to get the shot where I square up that fireplace in the photo. So what do? I shift the lens. So it appears as if my camera's in the exact same position, but 4 or 5 steps into what is in fact a wall. And so I'm able to do that. Now, I could just stand in front of the wall and get the same shot, but now I'd be closer to the fireplace, and I might not get as much of the room in the picture. So this allows me to step back into a wall that I couldn't do, and I'm doing it all optically by utilizing more of the image circle than the sensor can see. So you have to use lenses that are designed for a larger sensor camera. This is a Tamron full frame 17mm lens, crop sensor Canon camera. You could do this as well with medium format lenses. So you could take Hasselblad lenses or Mamiya 645 lenses. Those are both very common. There are adapters out there that allow you to put those lenses on a full frame camera. Sony A7, maybe the Canon EOS R now that it's been out for a while, and the Nikon Z cameras. If not, probably coming soon. And then you can shift on a full frame camera using a medium format lens. So that's kind of cool. These things, again, allow you to convert lenses that you might think are otherwise useless make them into a very useful tool. This is another reason to go to shows like PhotoFair. You can go out there and find just buckets of these lenses. You can find them sometimes at garage sales, and now all of a sudden you mount them to an adapter like this, and it's a shift lens. And if you get the one that does tilt and shift, it becomes a tilt and shift lens. So you turn a mundane lens into an exotic lens. And just go to Canon's website and look what they charge for those tilt and shift lenses. I mean, they are expensive. Here's a little $150 adapter, lets you kind of do the same thing. So it's a lot of fun. Another thing that you can do with these is macro. And in fact, Canon's 90 and 135 tilt and shift lenses are now macro lenses. These are lenses that will focus down to, I believe, 1:1 life size. But nonetheless, you can get, a picture of a bee pollinating a flower type of thing. And so where the shift can really be useful in a shot like that is overcoming one of the biggest problems in macro photography, and that is your own shadow casting on the subject you're shooting. You're in really close. You're hovering over this thing. You're casting a shadow on it. And so you can use ring lights and other types of apparatus to overcome that, but maybe you don't want to do that. Maybe you want natural light. Sometimes natural light is a little better, especially if it's an overcast day and the light is really soft. It can be really nice. Sometimes flash might be disruptive to the critter that you're trying to take a picture of. If it's an animal, it might freak the animal out and it flies away. Who knows what your reasoning for not using a ring flash is. This allows you to effectively point the camera off the subject, move to the side, and then shift the lens with the shift adapter so that now it appears that you're right in front of what you're shooting, but you're no longer casting your own shadow on it. So it's very effective as a macro tool. In fact, one of my plans here this spring is go out and shoot some macro shots with my Tamron 90 f2.5 macro. It's an old school macro from the 80s. It's actually a really good lens. I'm going to mount it on this shift adapter on this camera. So since this is a crop sensor camera, that 90 macro is going to feel like a 135. Actually a little more. It's going to feel more like a 140 because of the crop sensor. And so I'll be able to not have to get quite as close to the subject, kind of get a nice magnified image and be able to use that shift feature, in that. I really like that idea. I'm real excited about that. So these adapters are really clever. Again, $150 or so. Then you get one, you go to PhotoFair, you look for all the mounts. This one's FD, but they make them for Nikon and Pentax and a wide variety of brands. I'm always on the hunt for FD mount lenses that I know are good lenses. That I might want to do a shift feature on. That's why I've got this Tamron 17 on here. That's my wide angle. Shoots kind of like a 28 on the crop sensor, but it's a 28 PC lens. Nikon made a 28 PC back in the 70s. That was an expensive lens, and it's still an expensive lens today. So here I get effectively the same thing, except now this lens is multi-purpose. I can just use it as a straight 17mm full frame lens on my EOS R, or I can use it on this adapter on this smaller sensor M5, and it's a shift lens. So it's really cool. That's really all I've got on these. It's just another cool thing that companies are out there building for these mirrorless cameras that allow you to sort of salvage old stuff and make something really clever and really kind of exotic out of something that would otherwise just be, some little $10 trinket. This Tamron lens here, this 17, you can pick these up for a couple $100. A really mint one, they might want like $300 or $350 for it, but this one's not mint. It's in good shape, glass is clean, but it's got a little wear on it. I think I paid $175 for it. It's a 17. It's a pretty good lens, too. It's one of Tamron's SP lenses, which were their, whatever that stood for, super performance, who knows. But it was their professional grade lens. And back in the day, this was a real expensive lens. It was a 3.5 17, which was a pretty exotic thing in the 1980s when they made it. So I'm now using it. It's a shift lens. So it's really cool. I hope you can all come to the PhotoFair on February 23rd. It's going to be a lot of fun. If you can't get to the Bay Area or you don't live in the Bay Area, there's lots of camera shows. There's one coming up in Tucson on March 17th. On the PhotoFair website, we've got a link to that. And that's their 61st annual show. So that thing's been going on forever. The Puget Sound Collectors Society are going to run their big show in the Seattle area in April. We also have information on the website posted about their show as well. Tons of shows out there, guys. I highly recommend going to them. You'll just have a lot of fun. That's all I've got. I hope to see you at the show. Until the next video, thanks for watching.